for whatever reason people think that brains are associated with it, you have to be open to that exact same thing elsewhere in the body for exactly the same reasons. And then oftentimes people will say, but I don't feel like my liver is conscious. Well, of course you don't. You also don't feel like I'm conscious, right? It's nice for me to talk to your left hemisphere, right? For our two left hemispheres to talk to each other, but we actually don't. We don't have primary first-person perspective on anybody else, and certainly not on any of our organs. So we have to be open for mechanistic reasons.
So if the intuitions that led us to assume that consciousness arises out of complex processing, namely in brains, are misleading us, we really have only two options for a starting place. Some of these systems are conscious, that consciousness arises out of complex processing. Or all of these systems are conscious, that consciousness is fundamental. What would that mean, and what kinds of questions would we ask, and how could we even study something like this scientifically?
The conventional understanding of consciousness as a singular, unified entity residing within the confines of an individual brain is increasingly challenged by emerging scientific and philosophical perspectives. Carl Jung's assertion that the unity of consciousness is an illusion, coupled with Michael Levin's groundbreaking research on cellular intelligence, presents a compelling argument for a distributed, decentralized model of cognition. This model, further illuminated by the philosophical framework of idealism, suggests that consciousness is not a monolithic construct, but rather a complex, interconnected network of localized mental processes. Levin's work, which demonstrates that individual cells exhibit intelligent behavior, acting as autonomous cognitive agents within a larger organism, provides a tangible biological foundation for this distributed model. These cells, operating without a central control point, make localized decisions based on their immediate environment, collectively contributing to the organism's overall behavior. This challenges the traditional hierarchical view of consciousness, where a singular brain orchestrates all cognitive activity and instead proposes a network of interconnected, albeit limited, cognitive agents. This perspective aligns with Jung's notion of a fractured, non-unitary consciousness. Jung's psychological insights suggest that the human mind is not a seamless whole, but rather a collection of disparate mental processes, often operating independently. This aligns with Levin's biological findings, which demonstrate that even at the cellular level, cognitive agency is distributed and localized. The philosophical framework of idealism, which posits that reality is fundamentally mental in nature, provides a broader context for understanding this distributed model of consciousness. If reality itself is mental, then consciousness can be viewed as a fundamental property of the universe, manifesting at various levels of complexity. This implies that individual consciousness is not an isolated phenomenon, but rather a localized expression of a larger, encompassing mental reality. Within this framework, the concept of a universal mind, composed of countless interconnected, yet distinct mental processes, becomes more plausible. Each individual consciousness, from the rudimentary intelligence of a single cell to the complex awareness of a sentient being, contributes to this larger mental landscape. This perspective suggests that consciousness is not a binary attribute, but rather a spectrum of cognitive activity, ranging from the simplest forms of localized awareness to the most complex manifestations of self-awareness. The implications of this distributed model extend beyond theoretical speculation, offering potential explanations for phenomena such as emergent behavior and collective intelligence. By understanding consciousness as a network of interconnected cognitive agents, we can gain new insights into the mechanisms underlying complex cognitive functions, such as memory, perception, and decision-making. Furthermore, this perspective challenges the traditional boundaries between living and non-living, conscious and unconscious. If even individual cells possess a degree of cognitive agency, then the concept of consciousness as a unique attribute of complex organisms becomes untenable. Instead, consciousness can be viewed as a fundamental property of reality, manifesting at various levels of complexity throughout the universe. The statement, "We also could be a chip off the old block as we are part of nature, and the nature of reality is mental," encapsulates the essence of this idealistic perspective. It suggests that our individual consciousness is not separate from the larger mental reality of the universe, but rather an integral part of it. This implies a profound interconnectedness between all forms of life and a fundamental unity of consciousness at the deepest level of reality. In essence, the insights from Jung and Levin, when viewed through the lens of idealism, present a compelling argument for a distributed, decentralized model of consciousness. This model challenges the traditional view of a singular, unified mind and proposes instead a complex, interconnected network of localized mental processes, each contributing to the overall mental landscape of the universe. This perspective not only offers a new understanding of consciousness, but also opens up avenues for exploring the fundamental nature of reality itself. Ultimately, by recognizing the distributed nature of consciousness, we can begin to appreciate the profound interconnectedness of all things and the fundamental unity of mind that underlies the apparent diversity of the universe. This perspective encourages us to move beyond the limitations of a singular, localized view of consciousness and embrace a more holistic and interconnected understanding of our place within the grand.